This is Tom. I study for less than 40 minutes a day, get enough sleep, still manage to hang out with my friends, and my grades are consistently in the top 5% of my class. Most of my study time is spent doing practice tests and explaining the material to my friends. And this is Mark. Mark spends over 4 hours studying every day, sacrifices sleep, rarely goes out, but still struggles to maintain a B grade. Mark buries herself in dozens of colorful notes, rereads the textbook for hours, but the information just slips away. So what's the difference between Tom and Mark? It's not intelligence, it's not diligence, and certainly not luck. It's the way they study. Now, take a moment to think. How would you rate your study methods on a scale of 1 to 10? Keep that score in mind, and by the end of this video, I bet you'll want to reassess that score. Have you rated your study methods yet? Hold on to that number, because by the end of this video, I'll share with you a top-tier study technique that helped me go from barely passing to consistently scoring 9s and 10s. Let me take you back to a night I'll never forget. It was my junior year, sitting at my desk surrounded by soda cans and coffee cups. My notebook was filled with brightly highlighted notes in every color imaginable: blue, red, purple, yellow. It was 3 a.m. and I had been cramming for 12 straight hours to prepare for a biology exam. At that moment, I thought I was doing everything right. My notes were beautifully organized, and I had read the textbook until the pages were worn. But deep down, I knew something wasn't quite right. And sure enough, the exam was a disaster. That night, I realized I needed to change my approach completely. It wasn't because I suddenly became smarter. It was because I had to face the fact that I didn't know how to study effectively. Have you ever fallen into this trap? You highlight your textbook like it's a work of art? Reread a section until it's memorized, but then forget it all when the exam comes? Or maybe you take endless notes, post them online to show how much you're studying, but then still can't remember anything. It's like those study videos you save to your phone but never actually watch. The problem is, we often mistakenly believe that the more time we spend studying, the better we'll perform. This is known as the illusion of productivity. When you spend more time choosing perfect highlight colors or creating the perfect playlist to study, but fail to truly understand the material, it's a sign that you're lost in the process. Schools don't teach us this. Teachers tell us to study for hours or cover entire chapters, but studying isn't about how long you sit at your desk. It's about how effectively you learn. Studying longer doesn't mean learning deeper. Being diligent doesn't mean working smart. And that's why, no matter how many hours you put in, if your method is wrong, the results won't change. This is the trap of consuming information. We think reading more pages, watching more study videos, or cramming longer will make us smarter. Teachers also contribute to this trap when they encourage us to finish an entire chapter or study for extra hours. But the truth is, our brains aren't like photocopy machines that just absorb everything we read. They work more like a stomach. If you overload them, they can't digest it all. I've figured out a formula for effective studying. The amount of knowledge retained is equal to the time spent studying multiplied by the retention rate. In other words, for the same amount of material, if you want to reduce your study time, you need to increase your retention rate. For example, if you study for 5 hours but only remember 10%, you're effectively studying for just 30 minutes. But if you study for 1 hour and remember 50%, you're studying 5 times more efficiently, and you've saved 4 hours that you can use for sleep or leisure activities. This means that the number of hours you study isn't the most important factor. How effectively you study during that time is just as important. So, if you're studying for hours but still can't remember anything, the problem may not be with your brain, it might be with your study method. The good news is that this can be changed. You may not believe it, but since I started cutting back on study hours, my grades have improved significantly. I used to study like a zombie, reading the textbook, highlighting every page, taking beautiful notes, but forgetting it all after the exam. Then I switched to active learning. Instead of reading the textbook over and over, I started doing practice problems. Instead of writing down everything, I constantly tested myself on what I remembered. The results were amazing. My retention rate jumped from 10% to 70%. Passive studying is like pouring water into a leaky basket. It just doesn't hold anything. Active studying is like patching up the basket first so the knowledge stays longer. Since then, my study time has been cut in half, but my grades have consistently gone from 6s to 9s and 10s. Passive studying makes you feel like you're working hard, but active studying is what truly helps you progress. By now, you're probably wondering, how can I study less but retain more? Don't worry, I've got a detailed plan for you. Here's how I study efficiently, and you can try it out too. First, don't force yourself to study for 3 or 4 hours at a time. Break up your study time, spend 30 to 60 minutes per subject, and don't cram all day long. Take 5 to 10-minute breaks between study sessions to let your brain process the information. Second, before you open your books, test yourself on what you already know. Focus on the weak areas instead of revisiting what you've already mastered. Third, teach the material to someone else. Explain the concepts in simple terms as if you're teaching a child. If you don't have anyone to teach, try talking to yourself in the mirror or speaking out loud as if you're giving a lecture. Fourth, use active learning techniques. Instead of just reading and taking notes, do practice problems, use flashcards, and apply what you've learned to real-life situations. Fifth, connect new information to what you already know. For example, if you're learning about microeconomics related to real-world pricing and market situations. Sixth, review quickly before bed. Research shows that our brains consolidate memories while we sleep. So, spend 5 to 10 minutes before bed going over key concepts. The next morning, you'll retain the information better. And that's it. Easy, right? Just follow these methods, and you'll find studying much easier while still achieving high scores. Now, go back to the score you gave your study methods at the beginning of this video. Does it still feel right? If the answer is no, congratulations. You're ready to level up. You see, smart studying isn't about studying more. It's about studying the right way,